If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 2D Film Club. This is episode 11.
It's crazy.
They said we couldn't do it. They said we would never make it. They said we couldn't make it past episode 2. And look at us now. We've done over 10 episodes now. Can you believe it?
We just keep pumping those podcast episodes out. There's room for content every single time.
That's right.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, so to all the haters out there that said, "Oh, they'll never last 3 episodes. There's no way they'll make it to the 10th episode." Well, we're here, and we're gonna keep going. And it's
exciting. So, have you been? It's been a while. So, have you been?
Yeah, we took a little week off, so it definitely feels like it's been a while since we did our last one. But yeah, been good, man. How have you been?
I've been doing good. Just been watching some movies, chilling, working. You know, the usual.
The usual.
Nothing special.
Nice.
Just a lot of sad movie news and some good movie news. That's kind of exciting. And then being able to watch some movies that, I haven't had the opportunity yet. So it was nice, I mean, even though we didn't have a podcast episode, I felt like I was able to, watch a couple more movies than I probably would have been able to. So I'm excited to talk about that as well.
Awesome. Well, you want to get right into that movie news you're talking about? And then talk about some movies you watched?
Sure, let's do it. Of course, we have that whole situation with movies getting delayed.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
I just had to do that, sorry.
Thank you. I'm glad you did.
They're talking about, No Time to Die is being delayed, and now they're saying that Wonder Woman's being delayed, and it's just... And every time, I go and look at, the, Regal app or Cinemark app just to see what movies are playing, it's just kind of depressing, because I see Tenet still showing with a bunch of times, and I'm excited about that. But to me, it's a little sad because I know those theaters are probably not getting full. And so it's kind of a bummer because Tenet was a good movie, and I wish everybody would go see it. And it's just interesting because I see a lot of people out and about, eating, going places, all that kind of stuff. But then a movie theater, I don't know why. Maybe we've just changed where we have this opportunity to watch it at home now. And now since we have that door that was opened when previously it was closed, I think maybe people just don't want to go and spend money on a movie theater anymore. I don't know. What do you think?
I definitely think that's part of it. I mean, I've been feeling that a little bit, even though I'm excited to go to the movie theaters. I still have I've been having this feeling of I don't know, I could just stay at home and watch a movie. And now obviously there's some movies that I could only see in theaters, but
yeah.
But with being home for so long, during this pandemic, and not being able to go to the theaters for so long, I feel like I've just kind of gotten used to it. And even now that they're open, there's not that many movies, and so I still feel like I'm not really going to the movies that much. I've only gone, a couple times, really, well, a few. But I'm not used to going to the movies again, and I do love going to the theater, but there is something nice about being able to, rent a movie at home, whatever, watch a VOD.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't, with some of the movies that are, and there's still some, that are coming out on VOD, but I still have a hard time with some of them. I don't know if I want to pay $20 to watch this, because I know I'm the only one that's gonna watch. I'm the only one who wants to watch it. There are movies that I'd probably normally go see alone anyway, and I'd go see it with my, my AMC A-list pass. So it's kind of hard for me to be like, oh yeah, let me pay more money to watch it at home on my, okay TV when I could see it in
No,
the theater.
yeah.
So I don't know. I think people are scared to go to theaters, and then I think that there's people that are just kind of like, yeah, whatever, I don't need to go to the movies. And then also the people that are okay with going to the movies, I feel like most of them are like, they all saw Tenet and that's it. And they're like, okay, well, we saw the movie. Like that's
Yeah.
the movie that's out, and there's really not much else. So
I think the hard part for me, like going to like these movies and stuff, is when I'm watching the trailers and I see like Candyman or I see like some of these other ones. I'm like, I totally forgot about some of these movies that are coming out. And then obviously like you have, one movie that like I feel like people forgot maybe was Top Gun.
oh yeah,
Like that's another movie that like I think people just kind of slowly forgot
yeah,
about.
there's
Obviously, you have Quiet Place 2.
yeah.
They're moving James Bond back. They're moving Black Widow back. Fast 9 is getting moved back. And it's just like, there's so many movies that were supposed to come out this year. And it's like, man, I have no idea now what's supposed to come out even next year now.
Yeah,
So,
it's pretty crazy.
well, my thing is, do you think like that will push like other movies back that were supposed to come in 2021 back again? Or do you think like there's just going to be a ton of movies that just come out?
Um, Good question. I feel like there's probably some that will get pushed back to like 2022. Like
Yeah.
some that were going to come out in 2021. I'm sure there will be some that get pushed back farther than they normally would. So
Well, this year's just been so crazy. The fact that 2020 is like almost over. I feel like it's been like a 3-year. It feels like it's been forever. So when you say like 2022, I'm like, man, that feels like so far away. But 2021 is just around the corner, and then so just another year isn't that bad to think about.
yeah, it's
So
kind of crazy. Well, some of these that are planning on coming out, like now in spring of next year, I'm hoping that when that comes around, hopefully things are. I mean, I hope that they're good enough where they feel confident in releasing these movies,
hmm
and they start actually coming out. And I mean, part of me is I'm kind of okay with waiting, but if spring comes around and then they push like James Bond back again, they're like, okay, yeah, now it's actually going to come out December of 2021. I think that would be really really upsetting. So I don't know. Really, at this point, I'm not like expecting anything, and I'm just like ready for whatever. I mean, I'm ready for them to be like, movies are canceled forever.
canceled.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I mean, you have Fast 9 April 2nd. James Bond is April 2nd. Morbius is March 19th. Ghostbusters is March 5th. The Kingsman is February 26th. The French Dispatch, unspecified. Candyman is unspecified somewhere in 2021. Wonder Woman, it's Christmas. Dune, they still say December 18th. And then you have Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, that's December 11th. So
yeah,
we'll
it's
see what
funny.
happens.
I saw a movie last night in theaters, and they played a trailer for Candyman, and it still was the trailer where it says that it's coming out in October. And I'm like, okay, well, not really, but
Awkward.
well, yeah, it would be nice. I would like to see that, but not happening anytime soon. So
Yeah, definitely
cool.
not.
But yeah, it was just funny that some of those trailers are still playing. It's like, oof, not true. But yeah, good times. Whatever though. I keep thinking of it as like, okay, well I've been watching a lot more movies that have been on my watch list for a long time, or movies that I've wanted to watch, old movies and things like that. And I feel like I've been getting through a lot of them. Because that's really mostly what we have to watch. And there's, we get some new movies here and there, which I'm thankful for. But yeah, it's given me a reason to really like try to get through some movies that I've been wanting to watch for a long time. So that's been nice.
Well, before we get into some of those movies that we saw maybe in theaters like this past weekend or the weekend before, there's just some other new movie news that I want to ask you on your opinion. What do you think about
Lay it
it?
on me. Let's hear it.
Jamie Foxx, Electro, and Spider-Man 3. What do you think about that?
I think WTFY.
WTFY, I think it's because they're going to try to do a Spider-Verse. Have you seen that kind of stuff?
No.
You haven't seen any of that?
No.
So they're saying that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are rumored to return in Spider-Man 3, and they're thinking they're going to do like a Spider-Verse thing.
What?
Yeah, dude. Because they're saying like the Doctor Strange 2 or something is supposed to be like the whole dimension like thing. And so they're thinking that the multiverse is going to be a part of the film. And that's why they think that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are going to be in the movie.
Wow. That's interesting. Huh.
Crazy, huh?
Crazy. Interesting. Weird. Okay. I don't even know what to think about that. It could be cool or it could be like a big disaster. Like I feel like that's a lot.
All of those Spider-Mans coming.
And I feel like
it'd be so goofy.
Yeah. Well, I feel like if that's why Electro is going to be in this next one, then I feel like that makes more sense to me, I guess. Because if that's not the reason, why?
Then what the hell?
Why
yeah,
Electro?
Dude, I have no idea.
Like that is probably my least favorite Spider-Man movie, and I mean Jamie Foxx is okay.
I love Jamie Foxx, yeah,
but I don't want to see any more of that. Like, okay, I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Interesting. Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, "Is that a joke?" Like, I thought it was like a, it was like a fake article. I was like, "There's no way. That doesn't make any sense."
Like The Onion or something.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Spider-Man news, did you see? You know how they're for PS5, how they're making a remastered PS5 version of the 2018 Spider-Man game? Well, they recast Tobey Maguire. What the heck am I talking about? Why I say Peter Parker? You got me thinking about my boy Tobey Maguire. But they recast the face. It's the same voice, but they redid the face for.
Yeah, I saw that. A lot of people were confused by that, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, okay. I never played the game, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting that they did that. So, okay.
They did what's his face, right? Like the newest Spider-Man?
No, it's totally no. It's someone.
Oh, it's just a
different face. Yeah. I don't remember who the actors are, but it's in the 2018 version. I guess that he just looked a little too old, and they used a younger looking face.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really know exactly like the whole reason. I don't know, but and it's the same voice. I don't remember who the voice actor is, but he's done a lot of things. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
Well, it says because they want to make it better for the PS5 version of the game or something, but I doubt it. It makes sense why they probably would make it younger.
Yeah.
Interesting, though. I mean, but there was something else I forgot that I wanted to mention. Did you see that they're making a live action sequel or spinoff of The Lion King, but it's about Mufasa?
I think you sent me that. And what's his name, the director of Moonlight, doing it or something?
Yeah, Moonlight.
Interesting.
Maybe Mufasa has a story that we don't know.
I guess.
Jenkins is to direct the Lion King follow-up, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
I don't know. I'm guessing it's probably live action.
Yeah, I would assume it's going to be like this new Lion King movie, but
a photorealistic.
But yeah, I don't know.
See, I mean that stuff is kind of intrigues me a little bit instead of like a complete live action movie of like a cartoon that we grew up watching or something. Yeah, maybe it'll go in a different path with seeing Mufasa's past. I'll definitely probably see it because it sounds interesting, especially having Jenkins direct, and
Yeah.
I enjoyed Moonlight, so.
Yeah, he's a great director, so yeah, I'd be curious to see what exactly this movie is. Yeah, definitely interested
yeah,
to see
man.
whenever that first trailer comes out. We'll see what
Oh yeah,
what
for
it'll be.
sure.
Kind of interesting. That's cool. Was there any other news? I feel like I haven't really seen much, or I'm forgetting if there's anything.
No, I don't think I saw anything
Nothing
else.
exciting.
I just know like on TikTok, all I'm seeing is people like getting excited about like possibly having like a Spider-Verse thing, and so it's just kind of funny to see that, or people getting confused, just like you like with Electro. But besides that, nothing really else. I mean, just movies getting postponed, and it's just depressing.
Yep.
But you saw a movie yesterday, though, in theaters.
Yes, I did. Well,
Wait, actually, you tried to see a movie.
Let's let me tell you the whole story. So this weekend, I wanted to watch. Well, there's two movies that I wanted to watch. I wanted to see Kajillionaire and I wanted to see Possessor, but I wanted to see Kajillionaire first because I know that you've seen it and figured we could talk about it.
Yeah, I saw it at Sundance.
And then you saw it again.
And then I saw it again. Mm-hmm.
And it looks good. And I was interested in seeing the movie, and it's playing, at my theater. And I went to go see it the other night, and probably within the first maybe 15 minutes of the movie, very beginning of the movie, all of a sudden the screen goes off, and you hear like a fire alarm going, and a voice telling everyone to get up and leave the theater. And I was like, what the heck is going on? So everyone left. You see like everyone that's at the theater, everyone goes outside and is like waiting in the parking lot. And I guess they were giving everyone, like passes to come back. And they said that they were the movies that they would come back on, but they're waiting for like the fire department to come. So,
which is interesting.
Yeah, they were waiting for whoever to come and give them the clear so that they can go back and everyone can go back into their movies and resume. And everyone was like just sitting out in the parking lot. And it's funny because there's a lot of people that had like chairs in their like car, like in their trunks, and they're just like pulling out chairs and everyone's just chilling in the parking lot. I'm like, man, I'm not feeling this right now. I'm just gonna leave.
No, yeah, definitely not.
Maybe if I was like halfway through the movie, maybe I would wait and be like, all right, I gotta see this. But since I was in the beginning, I was like, well, I guess I could just come back at some point. But after that experience, it almost makes me not want to go see it now. I'm like, this was so annoying. But
oh yeah,
that's never happened to me before. Has anything like that ever happened to you?
Yeah, something like that has happened to me. I remember I was going and seeing what movie was it? I think it was I want to say Pacific Rim 2 or something like that, but I remember I saw it, or it was Godzilla. I can't remember. I think it was Godzilla, actually, the second one. And I'm sitting there, and the trailers are going. Not the trailers, just like the commercials before the movie started. The screen goes black, and then when you get that feeling where you're like, nah, it shouldn't be lasting this long. Like this isn't good. My screen is like black for like 30 seconds, and then it's a minute, and then it's 5 minutes, and I'm like, this is not right. Like, what happened? And so people were going out and talking to the workers or whatever, and the worker comes in 15 minutes later and says, oh yeah, we're not sure like what happened to our projector, but you guys can come back like at a later time and we'll refund your ticket, or you can just come back a different day and we'll still give you a refund. I'm like, what the hell? And so the just like you, how you said it kind of ruined your whole like viewing experience and like how you don't want to go back. Every single time I went back to that like movie theater, especially like that theater itself, I was always nervous, regardless of the theater or like a different one. Whenever like there was like a little pause before the trailer started, I was like, oh shit, here we go again. Like,
PTSD now, man.
Yeah, dude, exactly. So exactly. So
and
yeah, it definitely
and
scared
it
me.
sucks
So
because,
I'm right there
and
with
it
you.
goes back to the whole going to the movies thing. Is, when you go to the movies, you have no idea.
You don't want that
You
to
have no
happen.
idea what's going to happen. You have no idea if that's going to happen, or if there's going to be some loud idiots like in front of you that are going to ruin it, or there's all kinds of things that can happen, and that's the other thing that kind of sucks, is because whenever you have like a bad movie experience, like at the theater, like it just ruins your day. Like I hate
Oh yeah.
everyone. and you have to you have to drive to go to the theater. It's like a whole process just to get there. You have to wait through the previews, and then if something happens and it like ruins your experience, it just sucks, because you like, there's a lot that goes into it versus just being at home. Like, oh, let me put this on. You don't have to leave your couch. You're just at home. So,
No, exactly.
anyway, well, so that was a fun experience. I'm gonna try to see it again, and hopefully, have better luck. So that's kind of a.
It is a good movie.
I
So
I
I hope you can
enjoyed the
see
first 15 minutes of it. I was getting into it. I was like, okay, this is good. I like this, and then nope, no more. So
it's an interesting movie,
yeah,
that's for sure.
it seems interesting.
And I'm pretty sure this was Miranda's first movie she's ever directed.
Nice, very cool.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
Miranda July.
Nice. Well, I did end up seeing a movie, though. I went and saw, there's a new movie out in theaters right now called Possessor.
Possessor.
Yeah. It's a movie directed by Brandon Cronenberg, who is David Cronenberg's son, and this is his second feature film. And I believe it's going to be out on VOD, I think, like the beginning of November. So it's.
And I'm pretty sure Kajillionaire as well is going to be going VOD sometime this month.
Yeah, I think
as
I
well.
saw it's going to be on VOD soon, or it might already. I feel like I saw it might already be, maybe not. If not, it is soon. And so Possessor is playing. It's playing in some theaters, and it's playing at a lot of drive-in theaters as well. And
oh wow,
it's kind of a sci-fi body horror kind of movie. It's a lot like David Cronenberg's work. You could definitely see, the influence of his father, which is cool. Yeah, it's kind of a trippy movie. The way they're marketing it is it's Possessor uncut. And so it's not rated, and it definitely earns that uncut label. It's very graphic, and there's lots of gore. So if you like gory movies, this is a pretty good one, and it's probably one of the gorier movies I think I've really ever seen. So it's good. It's a science fiction movie where there's this agency that they assassinate people. You hire them to assassinate, and so but the twist is this movie's it's set like it seems like it's set in like a near future where it mostly everything seems like it's modern, like today, but then there's things here and there where it's like, oh, that's kind of like weird futuristic kind of thing. And they have this technology that allows you to basically enter into someone else's body, and so that's how they assassinate these people, is they use this machine to go into someone else's body who's close to the person of interest, and they use that person to kill whoever that they need to, and then while they're in that body, they get pulled out of the machine. It's kind of like an Inception sort of thing, or they get pulled out of the machine, and but they also have to kill the host that they're in. And the premise is basically this main character in the movie. She doesn't have full control of the body of this guy that she's in, who's played by Christopher Abbott, and the main actress is Andrea Riseborough, who she was in the what's it called, the crocodile episode of um, Black Mirror. She's in some other things.
Oh, okay.
She's
Yeah.
in Mandy, and she's really great in this. And Christopher Abbott's really good as well. And then the person that she has to kill is what's the name? Sean Bean. So that's pretty interesting, and I kind of enjoyed the memification there because Sean Bean always dies in everything he's in, and he dies in here. I mean, spoiler alert, but you kind of figure
Oh, of
he's
course.
got to die, and it's kind of funny because I feel like that was intentional, and the way he dies is very brutal and like
He's the Michael Caine of actors
killed.
getting
Yeah,
killed.
Exactly. He doesn't.
I'll do it.
So he gets killed. But what happens though with these two main characters, Andrea Riseborough's and Christopher Abbott's character's body, and she starts to kind of lose control, and he's gaining, and basically they're fighting over this body, and she can't escape, and it gets kind of weird from there. It's a really interesting premise. It's a pretty simple plot, but it has there's a lot of cool things in it, a lot of interesting things that Brandon Cronenberg does with the movie that I enjoyed a lot. But my main complaint is it's just I didn't really care too much about any of these characters. They're interesting in their own ways. Oh yeah, and Jennifer Jason Leigh's in it too, and she's pretty great too. But yeah, it's a really cold movie, and these characters there's not a whole lot to them. I mean, there's some interesting aspects about them, but you don't really feel like you get to know them very well, and kind of like their background, which is fine. And I feel like with this movie, it's definitely Brandon Cronenberg is just trying to get you to a certain place, and he's trying to tell a very visual story, and I think he succeeds doing that. But there's with these characters and some of the dialogue that feels like a lot of the dialogue just almost doesn't even matter. It definitely feels a little slow at some points, and it feels longer than it actually is. So that was my main complaint, but
How
like
long
an
is
hour
the movie?
44, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not too long. It's just kind of it drags a little bit in the middle, but when it picks up, it really picks up, and when the plot's moving forward and you see some crazy stuff, and
I love the reviews I read about the movie that I sent you. Some of those screenshots of what people were describing the movie as, like the bloodiest film that they've ever seen or something like
it's
that.
definitely up there. I mean, I knew it was going to be a gory movie, but I mean, it's very gory. I don't think I've ever seen a movie this gory in theaters before, and I wouldn't be surprised if this version of it, which isn't rated, if it were rated, it would probably be NC-17. I had no idea. I had no idea how crazy it would be, but it's pretty crazy. But it's good. If you're into that, it's really well done. The effects are really great, and it is pretty disturbing. It's one of these movies where afterwards I was like, dang, I don't know if I could ever see that again. But I keep thinking about it. I'm like, man, I kind of want to watch it again. But it definitely,
it's got that effect
yeah,
on you.
It definitely it effed me up in a good way. So yeah, it's good. It was.
Well, at least you had a good movie theater experience too. You didn't have to. Did you have any annoying people in there?
That's one thing as the movie started, it lets you know right away, okay, this movie is pretty messed up. You see some brutal stuff right away. I'm like, oh geez. And I was wondering, are there any people in here who had no idea, oh, this looks like kind of a good scary movie to watch in October? Was there anyone that just...
That would probably totally be me. just the picture I saw or whatever, I was like, oh, it's probably like a possession movie
Mm-hmm.
or whatever.
So yeah, but you know what? It ended up being everyone was cool. There was probably maybe like 6 other people in the theater, but everyone that was there, I could tell they all knew exactly what they were going to see, and I heard everyone was talking about it afterwards, like with their whoever they were with, their friends, girlfriends, or whatever, and they were talking about like, yeah, I overheard people talking about David Cronenberg and blah blah blah. I'm like, oh, okay, so these people they know what's up. Yeah, it seemed like everyone
That's good,
enjoyed it. I
yeah.
was like, okay, cool. No one was like,
So this is his second movie that
yeah.
he's made, right? Have you seen
No, his
his
other one's
other one?
called Antiviral, and I remember it has that one dude from X-Men First Class in it. The one that does like, you remember the guy that does like the screeching, his screeching power or whatever? He's
Oh,
in it.
yeah.
And now after watching this, I do want to watch Antiviral. That came out like 2012. So, yeah, I think I'll probably.
So how do you think his son is doing with these movies and
I,
everything? Do you think he's living up to some sort of
Yeah, he
expectation
definitely
with his
these
father,
movies. I
or?
mean, and from what I've heard from Antiviral, they're very much a lot like a lot of David Cronenberg's earlier movies. So it's cool to see him making these body horror kind of films. They're not quite like I
Mm-hmm.
don't think he's like I don't think with this movie Possessor, I don't think it's anywhere near as good as something like Videodrome from David Cronenberg, but you definitely see like this dude's got some potential, and I think if he could, um, I don't know. I'm really interested to see where he goes next. I want to see whatever he does in the future because I think that he's got a pretty bright future ahead of him. Because he's
That's
got
good.
yeah, I think he's got something going on here, and hopefully he'll get better. And I hope that some of the issues that I have with this movie, I hope that I don't like. I hope that he's able to um, make movies that have, because as far as like the effects and the sci-fi elements and the body horror and all that, like it's done really
Mm-hmm.
well, and the score is great. I think his directing is good, and yeah, I'm interested to see what else he does. But yeah, I'd rate it like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Yeah,
Well, that's good for like like a
yeah,
second movie or
it's
whatever.
really good.
Especially with you like continuing to think
Hmm.
about it afterwards too.
Yeah,
So
and I haven't. I mean, there's movies that I've seen like it, but I've also never seen anything like it. If you know what I mean, like there's like
just
this is
another
another
spy
spy
movie,
movie.
huh?
But yeah, it's worth checking out. Just a couple things that kind of held it back for me. Like, I just wish that I cared about the characters, like even just a little bit. But I really,
Yeah, because that can be hard in movies sometimes when
mm,
you're trying to understand how everything's going, and then if they're not really explaining the
yeah,
characters, then
yeah, and they're just not even
yeah.
really like. There's no one that's even likable in the movie. Like, you don't really like anyone. You're just like watching these people.
Mm-hmm.
They're interesting in some ways, but you just don't get to know enough about them, and they're just not even. They're yeah. They don't give you a lot to like. Um, so, but that's okay.
Do you think like maybe he did that on
I,
purpose,
I
just like the type
definitely
of movie?
yes. I think it's to some degree.
So do you think that's just a personal thing that you would like to have like a
Yeah.
connection to a
I
character,
think
or?
that I think he intentionally made these characters unlikable because of the nature of the movie and how dark it is,
Yeah.
and it is really like there's something about this movie that where it feels kind of sci-fi and it feels almost kind of alien, like something that's weird, but it also feels somewhat realistic. Like you could, it's like a
Mm-hmm.
Black Mirror episode, really. Like it really feels like this could have been like
Okay.
a Black Mirror episode for sure. Um, and
Oh yeah, I bet. Just like
yeah,
how you're describing it.
it totally like I kept thinking I was like, oh, this is like Black Mirror right here. And so it feels like this is something that could like if we could do something like this, then people would do this. Like, this is something that people would eventually do if that kind of technology actually existed. So, yeah. So yeah, if you like Black Mirror and you like gory movies, you should check it out. I would love if you're ever able to watch it, or maybe when it comes out like on digital or something, if you're able to watch that, I would really be interested to see what you think.
I'm definitely more intrigued by it, because like the little, what is it, like the movie poster, like I haven't really seen anything of it besides the movie poster. I just thought like maybe it was like a possession movie or something, so I was like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe if I want to watch it, I will. But when you first were talking about how it's like Inception-like and it's like a sci-fi thriller kind of thing, I'm like, okay, yeah, that kind of sounds interesting. And like that, reading the premise a little bit too. So I'll probably see it. I don't know in theaters, but definitely VOD or something.
Have you seen
like
the trailer for it? You should watch the trailer.
No.
Oh,
and I don't. Okay.
The trailer's cool. Like, I mean, and if you decide not to watch the movie, at least watch the trailer.
Well, I do want to watch the movie, but part of me doesn't want to watch the trailer because I want to like kind of be surprised by everything. Like, I don't even want to know who the characters are. Cool. Kind of like I just want to go see it blindly.
Okay, then don't watch the trailer if you plan on watching the movie.
Hell yeah.
Hey.
Well, when you see Kajillionaire, then we'll talk about that a little bit more. The only thing I'll share about Kajillionaire is I saw it at Sundance, and that was like my first movie I saw ever at Sundance and experience. So when you told me that you were able to see it in theaters, I was looking around like, neighboring cities, like different theaters, and Alamo Drafthouse, and where I live, they were showing it, and I was like, oh, I gotta go. And so I took my wife and we were able to see it, and it was fun. Definitely enjoyable. And especially like seeing it like in an actual movie theater setting, different from, I guess, the whole room setup that they have like at Sundance. It was just kind of fun to compare both environments and everything.
That's cool.
But
awesome.
But yeah, besides that, I mean, the last like 2 weeks, I watched Children of Men, and that was a really good movie. I gave that 4.5 stars. I thought that was a really interesting plot. There were like some moments where I felt like it was kind of slow, but I really did enjoy the characters. Of course, Michael Caine is
hilarious.
His character was. I wish he was more in it though. That's the funny part. But yeah, besides that, like I really did enjoy that movie. And it's crazy that it came out like in 2006 as well. So, and then I watched Hidden Life. One of your must-watches that you've been telling me to see.
Absolutely, dude.
Like ever since like last year, basically.
It's one of my favorite movies from last year.
And you told me that didn't you say like halfway through it, like you kind of were like, okay, this is getting a little slower.
It's definitely it's really long,
and then
I
mean, it's almost a 3-hour movie, but I didn't feel like it was a 3-hour movie. If that's weird.
Good.
Like in the middle, like it's a little slow, but like the whole time I'm just enjoying watching the movie and seeing like what's gonna happen in the next scene, what's gonna happen later in the movie, how is it gonna end. And so I was just kind of interested to see how it was going to play out. And holy shit, dude. Like, I do want to rewatch it because how it was shot, the cinematography was just phenomenal.
It's beautiful. Like,
just in the beginning, all I could think of is I want to go hike that. I want to go like stay in one of those cottages or something like in the mountain where they're at.
Where
right
they
now.
shot it it
was
gorgeous.
beautiful.
Like, it looks so cool. I'd love to go there. And just the cinematography is amazing.
Hell yeah.
And the way Terrence Malick like edits his films is so interesting. Like those like quick cuts and like the the voiceover and the score in the movie is really great. Like I love that, like that main theme played throughout the movie. I think is awesome.
But the score's not like too much either. Like I felt like a lot of time it had like that silent aspect to it where the characters are like the voiceover of them, they're just talking to husband and wife. And so I really enjoyed that. So And yeah, I gave that 4.5 stars as well.
Yeah,
So
it's a great movie.
yeah, and then I watched
Hey,
Step Brothers this week. Got a shout out to the other movie podcast, Blessed Picture, that you guys definitely have to check out, where they look at um, different movies that they think are blessed, and they said Step Brothers was, and I haven't seen it. And they talk about on their podcast how Step Brothers is one of those movies that you see like on TBS, TNT, like it's a cable movie that just plays all the time. And so I remember like sometimes it being on TV and I'm just like briefly watching or whatever, but I haven't watched it fully in such a long time. And I don't think my wife has ever seen it either. So like this was a really fun experience as well, like having her watch it for the first time. And just like I was laughing and she was laughing, and even after we watched it like earlier this week, like she's saying like some of like the little lines from the movie. You don't say that, like that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of funny to see that. So yeah, it's a good movie. So yeah, did you watch any movies this
I
week?
think so. Um, maybe
You think you watched some
I think I
movies? That's
watched a
good.
couple things. Let me look through my on my letterbox real quick, just real quick. I don't think I watched a lot, um, but I did watch The House by the Cemetery. That's a
Nice.
Lucio Fulci movie. Um, I watched that, and I also watched City of the Living Dead. Which, fun fact, these movies are
Hmm.
part of a kind of a spiritual uh, um, trilogy. I don't know. Wait, they're kind of, it's a trilogy, but they all don't, like, they have different characters and totally different stories and everything. It's kind of a, they just kind of are in the same kind of, they're similar in some of the themes um, and all that. But one of, we're gonna watch. Wow, what's it called? It's killing me. In this month, we're gonna watch one of his movies called The Beyond, which was my introduction to Lucio Fulci, and I think it's, out of these three movies, it's the best one, and I think most people say that. But I wanted to watch these because I'm excited to watch The Beyond again, and so they're good Italian horror films. I watched another Dario Argento movie as well, Deep Red, and I watched an American Werewolf in London for the first time, um, from director John Landis, and it was pretty great. I've always seen, like on like clips of the werewolf transformation scene because it's so iconic. It's like one of the best like werewolf transformation scenes in a movie, and but I've never seen the movie, even though I've seen like parts on different things about it, and I finally watched it and I really enjoyed it. It's a fun werewolf movie. I thought it was good. But yeah, those are the movies I watched. Pretty good stuff. Trying to keep it spooky, watching some horror films, and I got a bunch of other things that I want to watch this month. Yeah, baby.
Spooky cast.
Watching some spooky movies. But yeah, that's pretty much all I watched. Not bad, not bad.
Not bad, not bad.
Yeah. So, is there anything else, or should we start talking about the?
No, it's just exciting that we're this month. It's all
So
spooky movies.
stay
So
tuned. The day of reckoning will come. No, we're gonna watch some. We're gonna watch some spooky
hell
movies. We got some stuff picked out.
yeah. Yeah, I was just looking at that list. I know we have to
Yeah.
update a little bit,
Yeah, it's
but
not completely accurate, but
we have the movies that we want to watch
Yeah.
next week though. So
yeah,
that's good.
I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. But yeah,
Well, we watched The Exorcist and Suspiria, the Suspiria from 1977. Do you want to talk
sure.
about Suspiria
Whatever
first?
you want to talk about first. Suspiria, let's do it. So,
Yeah.
Suspiria is a Italian horror film from director Dario Argento. Came out in 1977. and this is also, speaking of trilogies, this is also kind of part of a trilogy of movies that he made.
Yeah, I saw that in the
Yeah, so
IMBD thing or whatever.
I
IMDb.
am dib I
Whatever.
am dib
I would do it.
dib. So yeah, it goes Suspiria and then Inferno, and then the third one I think is the Mother of Tears or something like that.
But that one came out super
2007 or
like
something.
way
Yeah,
after, right?
yeah, it's sort
Yeah.
of recent. I mean, compared to these older ones. And I've actually seen Inferno before, and this is another one where they're, from what I understand, like they're similar and about, like sort of witchcraft type stuff. Like there's different witches in each one. Like Mother Suspirium is in the first one, and then the third one, Mother of Tears, and the second one, I don't remember what the Mother of whatever. But I've seen Inferno before. I need to watch it again because it's a long time ago, and I don't really remember a lot about it. Just like some things, like kind of some images that kind of stick out. But yeah, this is the first. This is the first one in that uh, trilogy that he made. And Dario Argento is really famous for his giallo films, which are kind of like these Italian horror films where Dario Argento made a bunch of these giallo films that are like, they're kind of like a slasher sort of mystery kind of movie, where they'll have a lot of scenes like showing like the killer from like a first person point of view, and they always have like black gloves um, and
Mm-hmm.
and some of his other movies like Deep Red has a score from Goblin as well, which they did the score for this movie Suspiria. But this,
Which I thought
oh
they did a
yeah, I
phenomenal
mean,
job with it.
yes, this is one of the best scores in a movie ever. I think I absolutely love the score. This movie is very, 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 very stylish. It's kind of all about, for me, I feel like this movie is all about like the atmosphere and the lighting and the color palette and just the way, just the rain.
The rain,
Yeah, I love that, the
even from the
rain. Like
beginning, yeah.
like there's that red light and the blue. Like there's all these like the red lights and the blue lights, and there's a scene with the green. But it always looks amazing. Like I love all the lighting, and it's very like surreal and completely unrealistic, and the way that things are lit and all the colors. Um, and I think that's kind of what he's going for, is something very like just kind of this really vivid, nightmarish kind of movie. But it's about a girl who, let me scroll my thing here. Where'd it go? Jessica Harper. Jessica Harper plays an American ballet student who transfers to this really like prestigious dance academy that's in Germany. And basically, once she gets there, she realizes there's, people are being killed. And there's a little bit of that mystery element to it. That's kind of there's a little bit of that giallo element in this movie, but it's not really, this movie's not a giallo exactly. I don't really consider it a giallo, but I can see why some people might think of it that way too, because it has that little bit of mystery and the way that the murders happen. But this is more of a supernatural kind of horror film. And so, yeah. And she finds out there's a whole witch coven thing going on, and people die, and there's a lot of all the deaths are very like, it's really I mean, even just from the very beginning, very kind of crazy, and like the blood is like super bright red, and it's kind of fun. and then that score from Goblin is just pounding throughout, and it really adds to. I feel like the style of this movie is kind of at the forefront. Like it's all about like how it's told. Um, but yeah, I loved it. This is the first time I've seen it. This is Dario Argento's kind of most famous movie that he's made. But I've never seen it. I've seen a few of his other movies, but it's been one of those movies kind of hard to find or watch. Um, but yeah, I'm glad I finally got to see it. What was your experience watching this movie? Ah, yeah.
Well, I enjoyed I gotta get that little snippet of it. So I gave my letterbox reviews after both I watched The Exorcist and Suspiria. I both gave them 4 stars, but what I like to do the next day is kind of like when I rethink about the movie, the feeling that I get from it, then I will, adjust it or just keep it the same or something. And originally I had Suspiria as a 4-star, but, talking about it, thinking about the movie the next day, especially the score of it, how it was shot, especially the performances in the movie as well. Like even like not the head woman, but like the head person for the ballet company. I really enjoyed her performance. She just seemed like this super tough nun in a sense, that what I got from it. Like with the main character, she's talking about how she like is weak or whatever. She's like basically like, I don't give a shit, like keep performing or something like that. And then right when she like passed out or something, she's starting to feel ill. But I just enjoyed everybody's performances in it, and just like it didn't feel like, how do I say it? Like it was just like suspenseful, like in some parts, but I wasn't like super terrified by a lot of things. I mean, you had like the whole scene where like the blind guy, he's, walking his dog, and I just love how that whole scene is just like zoomed out. You know what I mean? And so I like how he filmed from that level of like point of view. And then the next thing you know, then it's super zoomed in, like on the dog just, going to killing his owner in a sense. So I really did enjoy this movie, and I did watch the trailer of the newest one that came out, and I don't know, like I wanted to watch it, but like after watching this one and then watching the trailer again for like the newest one, I probably will watch it down the road, but right now it's like I kind of like just like I'm gonna stick with the older one because I feel like the newer one might just ruin the movie for me.
Yeah, so
But you've seen the newer one, right?
new one. I saw the new one before I've seen the original, and I love both of them. They're both great in different ways. I think the newer one is different, and I think the director is what's his name, Luca or whatever, the guy who directed Call Me by Your Name. I can tell he has a love for Suspiria, and while it is it is a remake, but it also, I feel like he had his own vision and he did something different with it. He didn't try to like copy Argento's style or anything. He kind of had his own. The colors
That's
are
good.
more muted, and he kind of, in his movie, you get a lot more of the story and you kind of understand more about some of these characters and the witches, and but there's also a little bit less mystery to it. I definitely think that both these movies, while it's kind of like it's the same movie, but they're so different in so many ways. And the new one is actually where, I agree with you, where this, watching this movie, it's not really scary. I mean, it is, it's definitely a horror film, but it's not like I wasn't scared watching or anything. But the new one is definitely, and it's partially because it's new, and some of the effects that they use is very like, there's some disturbing things that happen in the new one, that you don't see in the original one. It's just really different. I mean, the way that it's executed is just it's kind of it's different. And I think that it's definitely worth checking out. I don't know. I've seen people who like the newer one better, but most people would probably say, the original one's better, obviously. Yeah, I think it's worth watching.
I'll
I want to
watch
watch
it.
it again now that
I
I've
just
seen the original and kind of compare them more. And
Mhm.
then the new one also has a really great score. It's not as good as this one, obviously, because this is freaking amazing. But the
Yeah.
score in the new one's really great too, because it's music done by Tom York, and it's really good. There's a lot of good music in the new one, and then you get some great performances from man, what's her name? Tilda Swinton's in it, and she plays two or three different characters, I think, in the movie. It's at least two, and one of them's an old man. So you see her in she's an old man, and she plays a witch in the movie, and she's really great. I love Tilda Swinton. Um, but yeah, it's good. It's worth watching. I really want to watch it again. I don't know if you'll like it as much or more than the original, but it's yeah,
I'll have to check it
yeah,
out just to
and
compare it and everything.
it's so different. And there's things about the new one that I like that I do like more. Like I feel like in the original one, there's not a whole lot of dancing in the movie, even though it's about a dancer and she goes to this academy or
Yeah.
whatever. In the new movie, there's a lot of dancing in it, which I really liked about the new movie because some of the dancing scenes are really good, and also some of what they do with the dancing is really creepy and really weird, which is one thing that I did really love about the new one. So, but yeah, it's I just really love how I just love the style in this movie. For me, there's definitely with some of these Italian horror films, there's like this element of kind of it's a little campy, a little like there's some sort of cheesy elements or like some weird things like uh
Like when she's stacking the furniture and
oh
stuff,
yeah,
like to
yeah,
climb out the
yeah,
window.
that was
That
funny.
part was just so.
Um,
But it seems realistic, and so like when I was watching it, like it's like one of those things where you watch like in a classic horror movie, and then like how in the
mhm.
2000s you had Scary Movie or whatever. It's one of those things where like one of those comedy things would have
Yeah,
made fun of
yeah,
that or something. So like when I was watching, I was like, I could totally see like one of those movies making fun of this scene, like of this person trying to like just randomly stack like a bunch of stuff to step on and climb out the window. And then all that happens is she falls in
yeah.
razor
Freaking
wire or
razor
something.
wire
So
scene was funny. But yeah, for me, I think there's a lot of things in this movie that I think could be considered kind of goofy or, and I think even watching it now, I feel like even some of the kills, like some people might think are kind of silly. Um, but some of the goofier elements, I feel like it kind of adds to the experience for me. Like even like the dubbed voices, like
yeah.
there's something about it that's just kind of charming. Like this movie, all the voices were dubbed afterwards, and something that I learned recently is like all these Italian films for a long time they did all the audio like after. So when they'd film these movies, they would um, like they didn't care too much about what was even said while they were filming it because they're going to dub it afterwards. So in this movie, you have Italian actors, American actors, you have even some German actors, and they would speak in their native language. Like as they
hmm
were making the movie, they were speaking their native language. So you'd see like
Yeah, I was reading something on trivia that was saying like the when she's talking to was it not the psychologist but like someone else, he like couldn't speak Italian or English, and so he was speaking German, and every time that he would finish talking, he would have to tap the American girl's like on
that's
the
funny.
thigh to let her know like it's her turn to talk.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of
it's
interesting to
it's
think
really
about.
it's really
So
weird, but that's how a lot of these movies were made. Um, which I think is really, it's just fascinating. But yeah, they would record it like, okay, yeah, you're speaking Italian, I'm speaking German, you're speaking English, and then we'll just dub it after. And so sometimes it's like really obvious, and then sometimes, um, I mean, obviously with the main character, she's speaking English, so it matches up for the most part. It seems fine. And then sometimes you'll get some that are like, you'll see someone's mouth move a lot, but they'll say like two words, and or
Yeah. I feel like in the beginning of the movie, like I kind of noticed it, and I was gonna text you and ask you about it, but then like as the movie
yeah.
was going, like I just didn't think about it anymore, and so like in the beginning, I
Hmm.
felt like it was kind of off a little bit,
Yeah, I don't think
but
it's
other
like
than
I
that,
don't
like I
think
thought
it's
it was
too
fine.
distracting or anything, but in some of the moments where it's noticeable
Mm-mm.
for me, it's just as kind of funny, and it's another thing, just kind of adds to the charm, especially just knowing like this is how they made so many movies like this. Like it's just,
Yeah,
huh, interesting. Yeah. And there's
it's funny to
sometimes
think
where there's
about.
like you'll hear a voice for someone, it's obviously not the voice of who you're seeing, but I don't remember who it was, but there's one guy that particularly I was like, man, that just doesn't match how he looks. Like I don't think he sounds like that. But I think it's a fun movie. I think, um, yeah, like an hour and
It's
a half.
short too,
Yeah,
right? It's only like an
which
hour
the
and a
which the
half,
remake is like 2.5 hours, so it's like a whole hour longer than this movie.
which
Yeah.
makes sense of some of the stuff that you were talking about that they
Um.
added.
So yeah, I love this movie. I see like I watched it and I was like, I get it. I get why this is one of these like kind of cult classic movies. Why this is Argento's biggest movie. Is definitely his most successful movie in the United States, at least. I mean, and I get why people love it, and I love it too. And that score, um, that score really did it for me. I freaking love Goblin. But yeah, I give it 5 stars. I don't know. It's just one of those movies that it just kind of as soon as it started, I fell in love with, and I'm like, yeah, this is one of those movies I'm gonna watch a bunch. Like I'll probably watch it again this month. I wanted to watch it twice before we did the podcast because I've never seen it before. I'm like, I want to watch it again because I feel like there's definitely gonna be some things that I don't
No,
know
it makes sense.
that I might not talk about that, but I loved it. Oh, what did you do? You like those maggots?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, dude. I was reading trivia that
Oh,
they sprinkled rice on their hair, um, to get that effect of something falling on them. But yeah, that maggot scene,
yeah,
dude.
it's
I was
pretty
like,
gross.
oh, what the hell? What were the maggots
Was it a
eating? Like
was it a
up
body?
upstairs?
I couldn't
I don't. I
I
can't.
couldn't
I
tell
thought
what it
it
was
was.
exactly. Like it was hard to see. Like you couldn't see what it was. I don't think, but I kind
I
of
thought it was
assumed it
like
was a body, but
food.
I really don't know. I don't know. I was like, I'm not sure. I might have to look and see.
It just says that maggots were falling from the scene. Like it doesn't say. And then it forces everybody to sleep in it. Which that whole scene was interesting, like having like the breathing and everything
And it
going
was
on in the
funny when
background.
that one dude like peeked over the over the curtain thing or
Oh
whatever,
yeah.
and he was just like, "What's up?" I thought that was really funny.
So was he in on it like
Um,
with
I
the witches?
I mean I think kind of I don't know.
Because the part where like her like friend, like her roommate or whatever, like disappears. He's like, yeah,
Yeah,
she left. You know what I
yeah, I
mean?
think he must be like to some extent. I don't know. I definitely need to watch it again. Um,
Because at the end you do see like all the people like in that back room or whatever, but you just see like that mute butler guy, like the head person,
mhm,
the ballet like person. But I don't think there was
yeah.
anybody else really.
I also love
So
that that German dance scene where they're slapping each other or whatever. That slap, slap, slap. You remember that? It was funny. I
oh
watched
yeah.
this with So recently, I've been watching movies with my siblings. Like every other week on Friday night, we get together and we take turns like picking a movie to watch. And it was my week. I picked Suspiria, and yeah, yeah. I mean, I
Did
think
they
I
like
don't know.
it?
It seemed like they liked it. Um, but that part got a laugh from all, like everyone laughed at that part because it was just so funny.
There was like one trivia thing that I saw about Suspiria that I thought was pretty interesting was the fact that he wanted to have
Oh yeah, I
like
saw
younger
that too. That's
kids,
interesting.
but they didn't with the stuff that there was going to be happening in the movie. They ruled against that, and just so he changed it to older people. But it talked about how the reason why the door handles are so high is because he still wanted to implement that
Oh,
aspect of
that's
like them
interesting.
being
I didn't
younger
know
or
that.
something like
Huh.
that. So,
Interesting.
hmm
That's cool.
yeah, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I definitely want to rewatch it again, and I want to watch
Awesome.
the newer Suspiria just to see,
Cool,
just
man.
to
I'm
compare them
glad you
both.
liked it.
But so yeah, but the movie that I picked was The Exorcist, 1973. See, my thing with The Exorcist is like I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I've seen bits and pieces. But like the only like thing that I always have that goes to this movie
Oh,
is like Scary
yeah.
Movie. You know how they made fun of it. So like when I'm watching this movie, there's parts where like I'm kind of laughing because it makes me
Mm-hmm.
think of like how they made fun of it. But overall, like I really did enjoy the movie and like the progression of her daughter Reagan getting worse and worse as time as like the movie's going on, and just seeing how like the demon in the sense like inside of her that's possessing her is just like progressing like in different ways. And I liked the character development of like some of the or just like the characters that were in it. um I enjoyed with Jason Miller's performance in the movie. I
Yeah,
thought that
he
he
was
was
great. I
good.
liked him too.
And they were saying that Jack Nicholson was almost gonna be the role that Jason Miller had, but Jason Miller
Hmm.
ultimately took the role, or like they went with him instead. And so it's one of those things where picturing back like Jack Nicholson being in it, like I don't know if it's like one of those Eddie Murphy things. Would it
Yeah. Yeah.
have worked
Yeah,
or
exactly. Yeah, I can't. I mean, I can't imagine that. But yeah, I think that um, Miller was great. I really liked his performance. I think he worked well.
and just like reading some of like the facts about the movie, it's just kind of interesting to see like how it was
Yeah.
nominated for like Best Picture and like Best Picture for like this kind of movie. Like I think there's only been 4 or 5 other movies that like a scary movie that's been nominated before, so it's kind of cool to see that. And then they were talking about how the girl that played Reagan, she was nominated for like Best Supporting Actress or something like that, but something happened with the award, like her nomination thing, because technically it wasn't really her voice. It was like the
Uh,
actress voice that did like the demon or whatever. And so she ultimately
uh,
didn't win it because of that whole aspect of it wasn't really her
hmm.
voice, it was someone else's. But yeah, it's just it's also the highest grossing R-rated horror film. I mean, obviously it in 2017, like, but if you do inflation, like it's
Yeah.
still like one of the
It's like
highest
one of the
grossing
first
films,
like
which is crazy to
big
think about.
horror like hits of all time. That's crazy.
Mm,
This came out in '73, right? Yeah, it's
yeah.
pretty crazy. But going along with the Oscars, it did win. It looks like it won one award for best adapted screenplay. So at least it won something. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Because yeah, you're right. These horror movies never get nominations for anything, especially nowadays. Like,
Mm,
there's so many times where I mean, like Toni Collette should have been nominated for Hereditary, didn't get nominated, um, and she was amazing in that. But yeah, that's cool to see. Um, and this is one of these movies. Like going on with what you're saying, it's one of those movies where even if you haven't seen it, it feels like you've seen it before. Kind of like The Godfather, where you've seen it in so many things. Like it's such a huge part of popular
Yeah.
culture, where you've seen it like made fun of on The Simpsons or Scary Movie. You've seen clips of it. It's always on TV. Um, Everyone always talks about it, and even horror movies today, like everyone always compares things to The Exorcist, like the scariest movie since The Exorcist, um, like that kind of thing. It's still brought up all the time when people talk about horror films, and I think it holds up. Like it's obviously, it feels like a movie from the '70s, but um, I think that it's effective. I think that it is creepy, and I can't even imagine
Yeah.
like watching it
I
when it
agree.
came out.
Oh yeah, same. Especially for like that time frame and stuff. Like this would have been. It makes sense why people are still terrified of this movie. Like an exorcism, especially during that time, a lot more people, obviously, like in the United States or around the world, were I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to say like super religious and everything. So seeing something like
yeah. I
this
mean,
would
there's
probably scare the shit out of them. And a lot of people are probably like, mental illness was still. I liked how they kind of talked about that in the movie. How when she's like asking, you know, Miller's character or whatever, like, hey, can you perform an exorcism? Because I went to all the doctors. He's like, well, we don't do that anymore. Like now that we understand mental illness, and probably people in 1973 like watching this movie, they're like, yeah, like, but still, like, we got to do exorcisms, right? Like, I don't know. I'm just assuming, I guess, but I would, I would assume maybe back in this time era that people watching this probably thought like you should do an exorcism right away, not necessarily go to the hospital.
Yeah,
And so
that's interesting,
I don't
and
know.
I feel like it's one of those things where I mean, there's never been a movie to portray like an exorcism like this, um, and especially one that's so
Oh yeah,
I mean so huge um, and frightening. And
I mean they essentially do the exorcism for like
yeah,
30 minutes or like 20 minutes. So it's a
and
pretty
it makes
interesting
sense why
scene
people were
too.
so afraid. I mean, if there's so many. I mean, like you said, there's so many religious people. There's so many. I mean, so many Catholics in the world, and even if you're not, like everyone knows about exorcisms. Like everyone knew it was a thing, but I'm
Yeah,
sure most people have no idea what that might look like, and probably have only heard maybe stories. But to actually see, someone become possessed, and to see possession. I mean, an exorcism performed like in a movie. Um, must have been pretty wild. And so many people went and saw this movie. It's crazy how big of a hit this movie was. Like people went and saw it, and they saw it multiple times. I was watching. There's a show on Shudder called Cursed Films, and the first episode is on The Exorcist and how the movie's cursed and everything. And they were talking about like they're showing interviews and like things from like TV at the time. And they were saying that there was like the clip like on TV where they're like there's at least a dozen people at every screening of The Exorcist are passing out or throwing up or oh
yeah. They said that they had to implement
that's
exorcist barf
hilarious.
bags into some theaters.
Um, and they really leaned into that with the PR. They're like, the movie that people can't handle. Like everyone, like that's how they would sell the movie. And like people are like, oh my gosh, I have to see this. Like what is this? But they really marketed it that way, and they used that to help market the movie. But then it
It kind of reminds me of like watching like classic trailers like of Paranormal Activity, like where they
yeah
would show
people
like the live
uh
reaction
huh
of like people in the theater. So you see them be like, wow, these people are like terrified of this movie, so I gotta go see it. So I can see why back
Yeah,
then they
it's
would like
funny, and
talk
it's
about
it's
it.
one of those things, and I'm like, really, like that many people passing out or throwing up, and then it showed like there
Yeah.
was
Oh,
interviews
right.
of like random people. They're like, yeah, like 12 minutes after the movie, I had to throw up, or I fainted halfway through the movie. I'm like, wait, this is real? Like people act like, wow. It sounds like there was actually people. Now maybe not as crazy as they were kind of playing it up to be, but it sounds like there was people that really were like just absolutely terrified from this movie. So it's it's really interesting to read about and see.
Well, one of the points I liked about the movie, like this one film critic, he talked about how it was like the first time in like a long while where people they said The Exorcist was one of those rare horror movies that became like part of the national conversation. He's like almost 40 years later, it's almost a movie you needed to have an opinion about. And so it's kind of it still goes into today where people still talk about this movie. Especially like if you talk to someone about it, they're like, "Wow, you watched The Exorcist?" Like it's almost like they feel like you're gonna
Yeah.
become like possessed or something happened like in your house or something. So it's kind of funny. But the one part of the movie, I didn't. I'm assuming a lot of people have probably seen The Exorcist. I mean, obviously, it's just about like this actress that's in, you know, like she's around the Georgetown area filming like at the university for like a movie. She brought her daughter with her. She's from like LA or whatever. And slowly, like you start hearing like things in the attic, and the daughter's like playing with like a Ouija board, and like slowly, like as the film's progressing, like you see things are changing with the daughter. I mean, the scene where they're having a party at the house and she walks downstairs, she's like, "You're gonna die
Yeah.
up there," and then it just pisses on the floor. You're like, "All right, okay, here we go. All right, it's happening." So I mean, it's just for like even though watching it like in 2020, it it really just does fit with like you can watch it like anytime. Even though it came out like in 1973. Like I feel like it just
Hmm.
has that impact. So, and then there's one thing that I read like about the film when they were, interviewing the little girl because they had to like refrigerate that room just to make sure they could really have that
Uh huh.
setting of it being cold in the room. She was saying that like to this day, like she still hates like the cold because like it was so cold in the
That's
room
interesting.
when they were filming. So it's kind
So a
of
little
funny.
fun fact. So
Yeah.
that episode of Cursed Films,
Fun fact.
I've heard about how The Exorcist was cursed and blah blah blah, but I never really knew like some of the things. But apparently, a lot of people who worked on the movie died like during the making of the movie or like after or something. But the guy who was hired, I think originally to keep the, and I might be getting this mixed up with someone else because it sounds like a bunch of people died. But who the guy who was hired to keep that set cold, he I guess he died like on his first day. I think it was that guy, or it could have been there's another special effects guy that died. One of those two died like on their very first day of working. Um, yeah, and a bunch of
It's
people.
great.
There's a bunch of people that died. Linda Blair, she said in an interview, in one of the scenes where she's being kind of like thrown around on the bed, she was saying that like these those scenes were being manipulated by men who are working or whatever like on the effects. But there's one scene in particular where something like some she described it as like some supernatural force was like pushing against her back, and it wasn't anyone that did that. And I was like, what the hell? It's crazy. Uh,
It's crazy.
yeah, it's interesting. It's
I
like
gotta watch
it's only
this
like
thing that
30
showed her now.
minutes. It's really interesting. And then I think in the beginning, and I might have missed exactly what they said, but that house, I guess it caught fire or something, and the only room that was like unscathed basically was her bedroom. like it wasn't touched, but everything else, like I guess it caught fire, or I don't know, something like that. I have to read exactly what happened because I was kind of like doing something else. So I was like, wait, what? So a lot of interesting things happen. There's another guy, at the hospital that plays. He's one of like the technician guys. He killed someone apparently, and in 1977 they found a body in his apartment. And at the time, like everyone connected it to like because at this time, like everyone, really believed that like the Exorcist film was cursed, and they kind of connected it to that, like it's because of the Exorcist for working on that movie. And so a lot of just some interesting things. Yeah.
Spooky. That's crazy. But just that adds to the effect of the movie, where I feel like it just draws people.
Yeah, it's
where they wanna
fascinating.
watch it, so
It's definitely. I mean, I get why it's still considered to be. A lot of people would still say this is like the scariest movie of all time, and it's definitely one of them, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars.
I gave it 4.5.
Letterboxd.
I think it's iconic. It's one of the scariest films ever made. It's yeah. There's a lot of great horror films in the 70s.
And I can't wait to watch more of these for October. Woo-woo. Now for next week, I know I am planning on wanting to watch Punishment Park.
And then my pick is The Evil Dead 1 and 2. Me too.
Yes, super excited about that. Punishment Park came out in 1971.
I'm excited. When you sent that to me, I had never heard of that movie before, and it sounds really interesting. I'm excited to check it out. Sweet.
And it's only an hour and a half, so it'll be interesting. All right, well.
Feels good to be back.
Feels good, man. Back at.
Heck yeah. Well, until next week we'll discuss those movies, and we have more horror films planned for the month, and can't wait. So until then, see ya.